Update 3.0 brought in 7 new weapons for some really old units. This includes Ogma, Navarre, male and female Robin, and the 3 Whitewing sisters, Palla, Catria, and the bestest, Est. Every one of these units are technically launch units, and we got access to Navarre and female Robin through early Grand Hero battles. Any fans of these units probably already have a great amount of merges, with the exception of our Grand Hero battle units. I wouldn't claim every new weapon is a must use for these units, but for the most part they are all pretty decent. I'll be covering what each new weapon and its upgrade does, plus I'll include a couple build ideas for how you can use these new tools. Let's get started. First up, we have Ogma's new Gladiator's Blade. The Gladiator's Blade is a 16-man legendary sword, and its base effect is the same as Heavy Blade 3. If Ogma's attack stat is higher than his opponent's, then Ogma gets special cooldown charge +1 for each attack he makes. Ogma can definitely be a decent user of Heavy Blade. He has 35 base attack, which is great, and remember, as a launch unit, any big fan of Ogma will probably have a bunch of merges and potential access to a plus attack nature. You would think a plus attack Ogma would be the easy choice here, but you don't necessarily have to use that nature. If you pick up the special upgrade for Ogma, which costs 200 Divine Dew, then Gladiator's Blade grants +4 attack and speed during combat if Ogma is within 2 spaces of a flying or infantry ally. This is very simple but effective. A neutral 5-star Ogma with Gladiator's Blade will have 51 attack. With the upgrade in effect, that is bumped up to 55 attack without including any other skills. It also puts Ogma at 38 speed, which ain't bad either. I've kind of felt Ogma has always been a very underrated unit. 35 attack and 34 speed is very good, and that was on a launch unit. I think he hasn't been rated as highly because that 13 base res scares people away, and honestly it's not a pretty number. Ogma's high base HP can offset this abysmal res stat, but he cannot afford to tank multiple magical attacks. Ogma is sort of a min-maxed unit, so that's how he ends up with a decent attack and speed stat line. With the special upgrade adding extra attack to proc Heavy Blade, I think a plus speed Ogma is just as viable as a plus attack nature. To maybe help you choose, let's look at some build ideas. A player focused build can work, and you will simply double down on stacking more attack and speed. Any A skill that boosts both values will be good here. Swift Sparrow, Life and Death, or even attack and speed solo if you have access to it. Ogma can definitely take a physical hit, so Desperation can be a nice revenge tool once Ogma dips low. Remember that Gladiator's Blade has built-in Heavy Blade, so a 2 cooldown special can be very nice with Desperation. The first hit would charge your special, and then the second hit would unleash it. Gladiator's Blade can also be run defensively because remember, you need to position nearby a flying or infantry ally to get the attack and speed boost. By playing for the enemy phase and baiting in enemies, it's simple to have Ogma near the right ally. Ogma may not have the craziest defense stat, but it's workable, and you can use Steady Breath or Attack and Defense Bond to bump up its tankiness. I know the Heavy Blade effect kinda goes to waste if you use Steady Breath, but it can give Ogma cooldown reduction on the player phase, which is also nice. Since Ogma has a way to spam specials, you could use Guard here to prevent the enemy attackers from building their own special charges. If you want Ogma to be more of a general threat, Fury isn't a bad option here because Ogma has very high HP. With Heavy Blade built in, this is a good chance to run Aether so that Ogma can heal himself back up. Chill Attack and Attack Smoke are both good debuffing tools to ensure Gladiator's Blade procs Heavy Blade, and plus it reduces the damage Ogma takes when fighting a mob. Renewal is another good skill here to at least get some consistent health regen. The only issue with a build like this is leaving Ogma open to magic attacks. He definitely isn't a one-man army type of unit. I don't think Gladiator's Blade is overtuned, but it's simple and the upgrade synergizes with the base effect of the weapon. Ogma is also a very common unit, so once again, there are probably a lot of you with this guy sitting on the bench. I wouldn't say he's going to be able to match other high power sword units, but at least he's got something unique to his name. Next up we have Navarre, who gets access to his Scarlet Sword. The Scarlet Sword is a 16 might slaying edge, granting the very common flat special cooldown reduction. Not much to say about the base effect, other than it helps get more specials, and Navarre's high base speed contributes to this as well. The special upgrade for the Scarlet Sword says at the start of turn 1 grant special cooldown count -2. This is basically Quicken Pulse, or rather Quicken Pulse 2 if that were to ever happen. With some simple addition, we can deduce that Navarre instantly charges any 3-turn specials at the very start of the fight. This is really strong for his first encounter, especially if he initiates, as well as battles that don't drag on or requires Navarre to fight multiple times. Now if you look at Navarre's stats, his base 37 speed stands out. 31 attack isn't bad, but somewhat average. An issue with the special upgrade is if Navarre can one-round his opponent, the value of the Scarlet Sword plummets. Since the Quicken Pulse effect only activates one time, Navarre is just left with a slightly more powerful slaying edge afterwards. If you were to pick one of his stat upgrades, I would honestly say that that's a waste of Divine Dew. At that point, I would just use an actual slaying edge if you're going to pick extra speed, defense, or resistance. Luckily, Navarre has one really strong build option if you pick the Scarlet Sword with the special upgrade. The downside is that I honestly don't know if the upgraded Scarlet Sword is worth using at all if you don't run a certain skill. That skill is Special Spiral. You can start the match with a charged 3-turn special such as Luna. Once used, Special Spiral will recharge Luna thanks to Scarlet Sword, making it a 2-turn cooldown special at all times. With Special Spiral, Navarre can run AoE specials. Granted, he gets one more cooldown from any source. He can use the Quicken Pulse seal for himself, or he can get supported by Infantry Pulse or Ostia's Pulse. A reminder that even though AoE specials end up as 3-turn cooldowns with Scarlet Sword, they will allow Navarre to attack, which should bring it down to 2 cooldown before his Special Spiral does activate. Special Spiral and Scarlet Sword is a fantastic combo. It's a hard to get skill, but at the current moment, Lewin is on the Hero Fest banner. However, Ophelia is also on the banner, and I'm gonna say that Ophelia is a way better Special Spiral user if you're running the same AoE special setup. She has high magic damage, plus she has the ranged advantage. Funnily enough, Scarlet Sword and Mistletoe are very similar weapons. Navarre doesn't have to worry about team composition, but Ophelia can fully charge 4 or 5 turn specials without any other skills, so she has a higher ceiling at the cost of needing to run more mages on a team. Personally, I think Scarlet Sword is best used with Special Spiral, but I do want to entertain the idea of a miracle build. Since Scarlet Sword knocks out 3 cooldown instantly right off the bat, Navarre can also use Shield Pulse to fully charge the 5-turn miracle special instantly. Shield Pulse might be unnecessary honestly, since this is only really needed if you don't want Navarre to get one shot. The only real purpose to a setup like this would be for stalling in Aether Raid's defense teams. You can place Navarre anywhere and he doesn't need any support to have Miracle ready. Would I suggest spending Divine Dew to do this? Probably not. I would highly suggest just focusing on Navarre's single battle potential or running Special Spiral. Next we have the Robins, with male Robin getting Tactical Bolt and female Robin getting Tactical Gale. A reminder that male Robin is a blue mage and female Robin is a green mage. Both of them, however, do share the same stats, and now female Robin has access to more merges thanks to heroic grails. The two weapons share the same effects, so I'll just refer to them as the Tactical Tomes from now on. The Tactical Tomes are 14 Might Tomes that have the same effects as the Raven Tome line of weapons. They give the Robins the triangle advantage against colorless units who normally have no weapon triangle advantage or disadvantage. In their base form, the Tactical Tomes are straight upgrades over normal Raven Tomes, which cannot even be refined with extra stats. The special upgrade for Tactical Tomes reads, at the start of the turn grants attack, speed, defense, and resistance +4 to all allies within 2 spaces for 1 turn. This only applies if the number of that ally's movement type on the current team is less than or equal to 2 or less. This upgrade is a tactics buff that grants all stats but only +4 instead of +6. The tactics skills are a bit confusing, so if you don't understand how they work, I have an entire video talking about the specifics, which I'll link as a card. So the Tactical Tomes and its tactics upgrade kind of push the Robins into a supportive role for a team. You do need to run a mixed team, which may or may not be an issue for some players. I think you'll hear a lot of mixed reviews on these weapons and upgrades. Basically, one group of players are absolutely going to love it and the other group are going to hate it. Any veteran of this game will understand the flexibility and versatility of the Raven Tome plus Triangle Adept combo. Triangle Adept further specializes a unit to fighting specific colors, and Raven Tomes gives you the advantage over 2 colors. The Robins specifically are good candidates for this build because they don't have the most amazing stat lines. Their attack and speed are both below average, but their defense isn't bad for a mage. Triangle Adept helps their damage output and reduces the damage they take. With the Spectrum Tactics upgrade, the Robins can now buff their allies because they will need help in tackling the color they are weak to. To improve their buffing capabilities, you can use any combination of spurs or drive skills as well. B skills can vary a lot from specific breakers to quick riposte. If you go down this route, the Robins offer a lot of threat coverage, better matchups against colorless units, and the one regular color they are normally good against. A breaker skill can offer a specific counter to a weapon type that your team may struggle against. Then the Spectrum Tactics buff also grants a nice general boost of stats for all your rest of your teammates. Unfortunately, because the Tactical Tomes are just Raven Tomes, they don't really have many other build options. You could go the route of double distant defense skills with quick riposte, but I really worry about the damage output from the Robins. With Triangle Adept, at least they get some extra power, and a breaker skill could at least get them kills with 2 attacks. I would say that the Tactical Bolt and Tactical Gale tomes have specific uses, and the upgrade isn't necessarily bad. However, this won't make the Robins themselves much scarier. They can act as a really good rally point for a team, and they are the type of units that are nice to have when you need a specific counter. If you already used either Robin with the Raven Tome, then picking up their base weapons is worth it. You get 3 extra might for the cost of SP. I wouldn't say any upgrade is worth 200 Divine Dew unless you really want to make them good support units. Like I said, someone will absolutely love this weapon and the upgrade, and another person will just think it's useless. If you don't care about Raven Tomes, then that's why we have skill inheritance. Our last 3 weapons all share the same upgrade, but unlike the Robins, they have very different base effects. Palla, Catria, and Est, aka the Whitewing sisters, have finally gotten new weapons. They are all 16 might weapons, which is great, and they each keep the effects of their old starting weapons. Palla's Whitewing blade comes with Triangle Adept. It's a ruby sword with 4 extra might, which is appreciated. Catria's Whitewing lance is just a killer / slaying lance, and it reduces her special cooldown permanently. Est's Whitewing spear is effective against armored foes. Now, the main draw of these Whitewing weapons is the special upgrade, which is indeed a reference to their triangle attack. If the number of flying allies within 2 spaces is greater than or equal to 2, the Whitewings get +3 to all stats during combat. Also, if they initiate combat, they attack twice. That is not a follow-up, that is the same way Brave weapons work, which means an actual follow-up would allow them to quad attack. I want to be very clear that the Brave effect is actually tied to the 2 flyer ally condition. If you don't have 2 flyers nearby, you don't get the Brave effect. Now, first off, this is a hell of a refine. Just for being near 2 flyer allies, the Whitewings get +3 to all stats. That in itself is very nice. The Brave weapon effect on a 16 might weapon plus the extra stats is so powerful. It is important to recognize that this won't exactly be the easiest thing to set up. You will most likely need to move other flyers nearby first, or have the enemy come very close to you. This can expose your units to threats on the enemy phase. You also must be using at least 2 other flyers, which would make Fire Emblem teams the best setup for the Whitewings. Luckily, flyers have incredibly high mobility options, and if you want to utilize the triangle attack, it might be worthwhile to have flyer movement skills such as flyer guidance or flyer formation. So there are many ways you could go about building the Whitewing sisters. For the sake of time, here are builds I think could be decent, but of course there are a ton of options. Palla will unfortunately be tied down by the Triangle Adept effect on her sword. Triangle Adept comes with some very distinct pros and cons. Palla will be very good against green units, and her balanced stat line will benefit her in that endeavor. She can definitely be played more defensively and literally take 0 damage from green units, but her performance against red or colorless won't be as amazing. If you can set up the triangle attack, then Palla will for sure do very well into non-blue matchups. I put Attack and Speed Bond as an example, but I do think Fury might be the better choice for a general stat boost. Swordbreaker could work when you don't have triangle attack ready, but it can be easily replaced as well. As for Catria, I think she is best suited for focusing on quad attacking. Remember, this is a quad attack with a 16 might weapon, not a 8 might Brave lance. The amount of extra damage Catria can pump out is insane. I think she is the best suited for all types of engagements because the permanent special cooldown reduction will always be useful. With Fury 3 and the triangle attack in effect, Catria would get +6 to all stats, and that applies to fights where she isn't the one initiating too. If Catria takes a hit and gets into desperation range, my goodness, while regular desperation 2 taps is already very powerful, it's just ludicrous when it's a quad attack. 4 attacks in a row, and Catria's special should also probably be active at least 1 time, which is going to be crazy damage output. Again, I want to emphasize that setting up the triangle attack isn't as easy all the time. It will be very good in cleaning up fights when you have to deal with 1 or 2 powerful threats still alive. Last, we saved the very best, Est. I am super biased towards Est because she's the only Whitewing I have actually built, but I think her weapon is up there with Catria. Est is now possibly the best armor slayer for physical damage dealers because of the armor effectiveness of her spear being combined with the triangle attack's Brave effect. Est has high base attack, which scales incredibly well with the 1.5 times effectiveness attack multiplier. She can easily one-shot red armors and maybe blue armors with some attack buffs. If she activates triangle attack, I really doubt any blue army unit that isn't stupidly buffed up and on a defense tile will survive to the first 2 hits. Now when it comes to green army units, Est will most likely not be able to one-shot them unless she has her special ready. However, once again, the triangle attack and its brave effect makes her so deadly. I think running S with full attack boosting skills is the best way to take advantage of the Whitewing spear. You could even run Heavy Blade and Moonbow, and that will probably deal with green armors before they can retaliate. If S were to quad an armor unit, my god, I would love to see something that survives 4 hits and a probable special activation. Overall, I think Catria has the best all-around weapon. -1 special cooldown is very simple, but it's also very effective. I also think Est is extremely good as an armor-specific counter. However, her high base attack and the fact that she can triangle attack with a 16-mite weapon will allow her to KO many units. This applies to all the Whitewings, honestly. Even Palla can use the triangle attack to good effectiveness, but once again, she is hindered by that severe weakness to blue units. The triangle attack upgrade is super potent, but it does have some steep conditions to be met. You pretty much have to run a full or almost full flyer team, and you must position correctly. It won't be as simple as using someone like Reinhardt. That being said, the payoff is incredible. I have already given S the Whitewing Spear, and I will be making a video dedicated to talking about it more. Be on the lookout for that if that interests you. Thanks for watching, let me know if you refined any of these new weapons, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
On it! Impossible!